Alright, everybody, hello and welcome to the first stream of the Mania 4K World Cup 2022. We've got one stream for this weekend, and we are going to be doing something simple, just showing off the qualifiers map pool. Just like last year, there are 8 maps, but before we get into a smaller explanation, I am Toph Daddy, one of your commentators for this opening stream, joined by Mifa. How's it going?
Hey, hello there, Toph. It feels really great to be back here and commentating with one of the biggest sport World Cups ever. And yeah, this is sure to be a hell of an experience to start off this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited. I'm a little bit interested to see how the players react to this qualifiers map pool, but just to get a little bit of a lowdown of what we're expecting to see, it's equivalent to what we saw last year in the qualifiers. We have a stage 1 that is SVs, and then 7 others that are other categories, pretty much in the exact same order as last year. Stage 2 is tech, stage 3 is a hybrid, both for early rounds. Stage 4 is a release LN map, 5 goes into density LNs, 6 goes back into the hybrids, and then 7 and 8 are both rice maps, just like last year. One more straightforward rice, 2 more tech-oriented maps, but you know, that's kind of like the structure we're working with. I don't think I have anything else to say before we get into the maps. How about you, Mifa?
Yeah, I mean, especially when we get to the second half of the qualifier, which is like stage 5 to stage 8, it is more tapered into like the later rounds as well. So yeah. I might add that we especially we're not going easy, at least for this qualifier, because well, since last year when I compared the qualifier structure in between last year and this year, this is going to be a lot more crazier.
Yeah, and the people watching the stream will get a front row seat to how difficult these maps are going to be. But without further ado, I think we can open up with stage 1. As I said, this is going to be the SV map for our qualifier pool, and I think for anyone who's even decent at SVs, this should be like by far the easiest map in this qualifier pool. It is going to be Emo Cosine. This club is not for you, a map made by Rule Blazing, thanks to the work that was done by the SV team for this, and we'll continue to be seeing through the rest of the pools. But this is going to be primarily an accuracy tester. It's OD8 instead of OD7, but because of that, the SV gimmicks are a little bit easier than what we saw last year from stage 1. And what you'll notice is that this has quite a heavy swing rhythm and a few changing rhythms throughout the map, which I think are going to be the most important part of that memorization aspect that you might be expecting for an SV map.
Yeah, especially when you look at the structure in like last year, we're starting off pretty easy, like as far as things considered, because the SV in itself isn't that much of a challenge, but it is still definitely like I guess, like you said, like an accuracy tester for a little bit simpler SVs, and then some stutters here and there. It's just a pretty normal SV chart, I might add as well.
Yeah, and you know, we saw earlier that earlier section I think is easier to like just read through, even if you're not totally sure what the rhythms are. This section though is something that you're going to have to practice a little bit more and make sure that you have those rhythms down, especially as those SVs start to change and start changing the gaps between the notes. But also on top of that, the general note count of that section is a lot lower than what we were saying earlier. But that is going to finish the first 2/3 of the chart. We're getting into the final section of the chart, which I think is the most physically demanding part. But the SVs are not too bad in this ending section.
Yeah, there's some complicated rolls in it too. You see like the 1-8 or around there, just to spice it up things a bit and sort of patterning wise.
But yeah, relatively simple on the SV side of things. Once you get past that middle section, I think most people are going to feel very comfortable with this ending section. So once we get out of that, we'll be completing our SV map of the qualifiers. And moving on to stage 2, as I said, a tech map.
Yeah, we got Barbarbanal by Frums, chart by Min, but also is it a collab with Soap as well?
Yes.
I should say.
And if you were expecting something as easy as Fondrome, this is where that sort of difficulty jump starts to show itself. This is significantly harder than Fondrome was last year, and should hopefully give an idea of, the kind of boosted difficulty I think all of the pools are going to start getting for this year. This aiming for about that round of 16, maybe early round of 16 level, but ultimately this is going to be a more rigid kind of tech map, more mini jack focused, more accuracy oriented, has that OD8, and you'll see a lot of changing rhythms that you have to be pretty focused on, but not like that kind of flowy nature tech that you'd see in more of a streamy tech pick. So, but we'll be getting to something like that later on in this qualifier map pool.
Yeah, the thing about the chart structure in this, you really can't rely on the constant rhythm that you go in. It just keeps changing every 8 measures or so. So you kind of have to rely on your visual kit with the snapping and such, with a lot of swings there, and then there's a lot of 1-4, and then sometimes it's speeding up as well for at one point.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even just start speeding up. The rhythms or the BPM of this map just changes all the time. So what you'll kind of notice is that there are a few dedicated sections. I mean, this was a collab, so it makes it very nice in that kind of respect. But we just had that broken jump stream, and we're going into this more mini jack heavy section because of the song structure changing so frequently. But
that a little nice break there.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a break. Even with this being the case, this is still, I think, going to be one of the... it's probably on par with one of the other Rice maps in this qualifier pool in terms of what round we'd expect to see it. And as I said, probably closer to that round of 16 zone. But it is still going to be on the easier side of this qualifier pool in general.
Also, I think I forgot to mention there's only one long note in this, but I don't think we have seen one just yet.
It's right here. Very end of the map.
Can't really break the non-zero, the non-LN map in this one.
Absolutely not. But that's going to move us on into Stage 3, KSQ, Entropic Difficulty made by Guden. This is going to be our early game hybrid qualifier, and what you'll notice from both of the hybrids that we have, they're more of in that 50-50 zone. But I think outside of the SV, if we consider everything outside of SV, this is by far the easiest of the qualifiers. It's both physically and good accuracy on. But I think for hybrids, that kind of does mesh well with the purpose of these qualifiers, which is to make sure that people are good at as much as they can, and keeping the hybrids easier than the Rice and the LN maps that we're going for the earlier rounds. It kind of just works.
Yeah, this is I think in what I would say that this even like a stage 3 of hybrid, this doesn't play as rigid as you would normally think or you would normally see, since the pattern just flows well together in between the LNs and some of the releases in it as well. So you kind of play it as a rise.
Yeah, some of the sections definitely do play like that, and if you are going to compare it to Burnt Rice from last year, it's definitely not in that zone of stop-go motion with awkward releases. It's a lot more straightforward than that, and a lot more flowy than what we were expecting from last year. But on top of that, the physical requirement is also a lot higher.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you got some physical straining with the mania jack of some sort, and there's some thrown up jump straight in between of the longer releases as well.
Yeah, and you get a small break after that kind of brutal section there with the long notes, and we'll get into the ending, which has more of that release or maybe not release, but more coordination requirement that you'll see in this qualifier in anyways. And it'll speed up and get more of the density, and we'll be coming into the outro of Stage 3 here.
Oh yeah, we got some followers to just finish it off.
Yeah, don't blink.
Well, although when you say that this is an early game hybrid, I dread to think whatever the late game hybrid should be like.
And yeah, we'll get to the late game hybrid for these qualifiers, but not quite. We're going to start into our long note maps for the qualifiers, and we're starting with Cephid Critical Cannonball, which is our coordination LN release type map. And this is really, really hard.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely the hardest for me. This is just when you compare it to like last year with this kaleidoscope, this is nothing compared to this.
Yeah, like the release-oriented patterns are a lot more prevalent throughout this map. Like some staggered releases every now and again, some faster streams than what we were seeing in Kaleidoscope, and this section is just brutal, especially on that OD7.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, the person who got this replay with the name Bagel is Mysterion, which should give you an idea of how difficult this map is if they were not able to break the 990k mark on this map for the replay. But this should do a good job of separating the people who are good at long notes and capable of just comboing them versus the people who are really able to pay attention to the releases and get good scores on maps like this.
Yeah, as someone like Mysteria, who is very good at LNs, getting just less than 990k is a danger to people.
Oh yeah, I guess I should also mention this isn't just a map by Rave. Rave is one of 3 contributors to this map, the other 2 being Mysterion himself and Juan Crystal. So this is a 3-way collab for this map, and I'm sure you would be able to tell that, you know, this has those Juan Crystal-esque LN releases in certain parts, and the Rave LNs, and even the Mysterion sections.
I mean, you can kind of tell which styles of the mapping styles in between the LN sections, so I guess you can kind of say this is alright in most cases.
Yeah, and like I think in the same way that Part Orbital kind of had that structure for the collab to work, you know, you'll see a lot of different types of LNs, and that kind of helps with that testing of the LN release proficiency that we're trying to look for in our players. But that'll be stage 4. Getting to the second of our long note qualifiers, this one's going to focus more on our density LN pick, and this is going to be Penorary Reverenced Flower and map made by myself, OD7.5, and a varying BPM, but generally it's either 1/3 or 1/4 around that 190 to 200 BPM range. And what you'll notice is that this has a little bit of a different structure than what we saw from Agurio Tensei from last year's stage 5. There are a few sections at the beginning with breaks in between them, but these earlier sections I think are notably easier than what we saw from last year. At least the first one definitely is. And as the map goes on, those sections will slowly start to get harder, and the chorus is pretty brutal with a lot of like inverse swings between, you know, pretty fast streaming as well. And here we go, getting into the second section where you're already going to be able to start seeing that increase in the density and physical requirement to hit these notes, these jacks. Pretty difficult to coordinate by themselves, but a pretty short section, so you'll be able to have those moments where you're going in and out of, you know, you'll have a break and then you'll be able to get your focus back and start up one of the sections and not lose too much focus before it ends until we get to the last chorus, which will be coming up after this break and lasts a lot longer than the rest of the sections in this map.
Yeah, all things considered, like the LNs in here, like you would see the density starts to become a little bit, just a bit.
Yeah, and you'll see a couple of those rhythm changes. There's a couple 1/3 in this chorus, but they shouldn't be too distracting from the rest of the map. We'll have a repeat of that opening section or opening difficult section to transition us into the final little bit, which is a little bit on the difficult side to read. It looks a little bit lighter than the rest, but this is really hard to read.
As much as I would say that this is density, I'd say this is like the easier one. I mean, it depends on your physical limitations that you have. I think this is probably like the easier, just to to play in general.
Yeah, absolutely. But that'll finish off our long note pool for the qualifiers. We're moving back into the hybrids, as I said, with stage 6.
This is pain. We got wonderful paradise by Hino Izuka. Lemon Guy hybrid.
Lemon Guy TM. What else would you have expected? This man has made the hybrids for qualifiers for like every tournament for the past like 4 years. But yeah, this is going to be Utopia. This is not like your average Lemon Guy hybrid. There's obviously going to be those mini janks. I don't think you can ever avoid them. But if you're looking to compare this to Life Flashes before we buys, I don't think the comparison can really be made because of how technical Life Flashes was last year. This one is a lot more straightforward, with more of a focus on that jump stream and the transition between inverse and difficult long note patterns, which should be more approachable to a lot of players. But that physical requirement, I think, still is a little bit higher on this than it was last year, so you still have to be able to pay attention.
Yeah. You do still need to have some Rise finesse to be able to play this like consistently. Like, even though some of the Rise sections are, I guess, there's somewhat more one-hand trilling than you would expect, but then in case it goes back to like when you really all out to be able to play this consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're already seeing now, I think this ending has a little bit more of a heavy long note motif throughout it. If you're worried about it not being long note heavy enough after seeing all those jump stream sections, we're getting into the ending now. Last quarter, don't blink, because I think this is the hardest part of the map. So
yeah,
having that 2500 combo, it does not make you safe, because there's a lot of changing motifs throughout this ending, a lot of fast bursts, and really difficult to coordinate patterns.
Yeah, just to finish off with the one-hand trilly jump stream to finish it off.
And that's going to be stage 6. We'll move back into our Rise for the final 2 of our qualifiers. We've got Breakchild Knockman Core. I don't know how to pronounce this. Doesn't matter.
Me neither.
This is our most straightforward Rise pick. We saw part of Orbital earlier in the qualifier pool. This one's going to be primarily a stamina and jump stream focused qualifier. Similar, I mean, you could pretty much mirror the entirety of last year's qualifiers to this to get the map types. You know, Mariochi Survivor being that jump stream stamina-esque map. This one has the same kind of deal. A little slower, a little bit longer. I think meant to be a little bit on the easier side for these players, but the stamina is still not going to be a joke.
Yeah, I think with the comparisons in between like Mario and Survivor, that this is less likely about how you would sustain yourself in jump stream, or like how you would be able to deal with some sort of patterns that are changing throughout. There's some little bits of motifs like a wire really just in there, but there's also some like kinesthetically like pleasing to hit the jump stream in between, and that's also one message there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think this is going to be one of the most comfortable maps for many teams, just because of how straightforward it is and how capable so many teams, I think, are going to be of just going for pure accuracy on maps like this. Like, I can imagine players like Lothus and Muka absolutely crushing this map. And I'm excited to see the kinds of scores that will be gotten.
Oh yeah, for sure.
These teams, like, overall, I'm definitely expecting some 999s on this map in particular. But
yeah,
the team scores is really where it's going to be interesting, because with how straightforward this is, there's a lot of teams that could definitely be vying for that #1 position on this map.
Yeah, he just kind of continues on for the last quarter a little bit though, so I guess you kind of need to conserve a little bit, just make sure not to fall off.
Yeah, hope you like Mash Core, because you'll be doing jump stream consistently for the entire last 2 minutes of the chart. But we're
also keep an eye out on the 1-6 as well. So
yeah. I was just about to mention that. Approaching the end, you got to watch out for that change in rhythm a little bit with the 1-6 bursts. But even with those 1-6 being introduced, you're still not getting a break in the actual streams themselves. But we're approaching the end now, and that is, I think, is going to be really interesting to see how that goes, because you're either going to be able to hold your stamina for the whole time, or you're going to start falling apart towards that ending, and I'm curious to see where that starts happening for some of these players. And to round out our qualifiers, we have Stage 8, which, as I mentioned, is going to be a little bit more of that flowy tech map to match up with Parv Orbital being a lot more rigid. It's also going to be a lot more physically difficult than everything else in this pool. This is The End of Dreams by Zai, made by Alien Cart or VizD, and this is upgraded to 1.25 because it scales on rates really well and fits that kind of physical requirement that we're looking for from a map like a Stage 8.
Yeah, I mean, it takes quite a bit to get going, so once we get to this part, it just shows how difficult this part is.
Yeah, and this beginning, you'll just get a little bit of a taste of what to expect from the most difficult portions of the map. We just saw like about a 20-second section of the map that was just brutal for that entire section, and you get a little bit of a break here, a little bit more of a start on the stop and go motion of some of these jump stream bursts and actual bursts. And once we get to the second chorus, that lasts for about a minute straight and keeps you going like we saw earlier for that entire time.
Oh yeah, the patterns itself, it just doesn't. It's pretty unrelenting for a lot of things, and then the jumps when you take it into the trails over there.
Yeah, and I think this qualifier in particular does a really interesting job of more testing the physicality that we're trying to make sure that these players have, and allow the players who are very, very strong at fast, dense things like this to get some sort of edge in the qualifiers. But it doesn't test the stamina as much as you might expect, because you're not doing these bursts for like seconds at a time. You're very fast, they're very stop and go, and you have time to kind of recover yourself while you're in between them. And we're going into the very ending now with some 1/6 bursts that are pretty brutal.
Yeah, those are monsters bursts, like they're going to the outro of this card. Some angles on the 1-2. That's really brutal.
Yeah, that anchor at the end is pretty tough. Those anchors in general are tough, and that is the final of our 8 qualifiers. Thank you, Transcendence, for that replay. But those are the 8 maps that I'm not sure the number of teams we have. There's a lot. More than 32.
There's a lot. There's definitely more than 32.
But all of the teams that are in this tournament, okay, I'm just getting it. It's 43. All 43 teams that are signed up with their players will be practicing these for the next week and playing them in lobbies next weekend. These lobbies will not be streamed. Keep that in mind. So next weekend, we will still only have one stream once all the qualifiers are done. As for the team captains, you will be getting a ping soon with a Google Doc with a bunch of times, or maybe not even a Google Doc, maybe just a time, and the hosts will have the captains submit a time that works for your team that you will play your qualifiers in an isolated lobby so that no other teams can see your scores. But once everyone's done with that, we'll be moving on into our only stream for next weekend, which will be the qualifiers results showcase, as well as the round of 32 map pool showcase. And that'll be it for the process for next weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So for those 43 teams out there that will be competing against, just to get to the top spot, I mean to the top spot, just to case yourself to be fighting against other teams, I'd say good luck to practicing and even playing with these qualifiers, because this is no joke. Probably like the next level qualifiers that we have seen from last year.
Yeah, definitely very hard qualifiers. And remember, 11 teams will be eliminated after qualifiers. Only 32 teams of the 43 will be making it. So you're going to have to bring your best effort to hopefully make it into that bracket stage. But I don't think I have anything else to say. You, Mifa?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have much to say other than maybe just go practice for the qualifiers. And I believe that you will be having your best efforts to bring up the tournament and make it to the round of 32. And as well, you also have at least like 2 rounds to between. So you get your second chance is to submit your score if your first score is not as good as the second one. Just to give it at least a little bit of time. And I think that's it.
Yeah. One more thing to mention. If you hadn't read the sign-up post for the OC Mania 4Q World Cup 2022, you are able to donate to the prize pools this year. The first of our official World Cups that we are able to do that. We are asking for your generous donations to support the players and the prize pools for the tournament this year. There is a link in the chat for you to follow if you are interested in supporting our players here for the World Cup 2022. But I think that as far as that goes, that is it for this stream for the OC Mania 4Q World Cup. And we will see you guys next week for the qualifiers results and the round of 32 showcase. See you guys then.
Yeah, defense over. Signing out.